Adobe Analytics virtual report suites are a great feature. The best about it is basically virtual report suite component curation. The component curation is a major plus because Adobe Analytics is great in creating lots of custom components. If you have a lot of users, there are going to be multiple, a load of segments, and there's going to be many calculated metrics floating around, and of course there's lots of like standard components and metrics and dimensions already provided by Adobe Analytics. So in this case, this account has 1,508 components in this parent report suite, but in the virtual report suite, I've included only 410. So with a component curation, you can easily add and remove components, and you can even rename them and say, I don't want this to be called browser type, I want this to be called salad. That makes it possible for you to name stuff just the way it is convenient for the users that are using a certain virtual report suite, and still not change the underlying technical name, which is important for implementation and configuration purposes. To give you an example, I have two different panels from two different virtual report suites. This is the virtual report suite 1 and this is the virtual report suite 2. And if I'm in this first panel, I see add service to cart, which is a calculated metric only under the non-curated VRS components. If I'm going to this other panel, I see that add service to cart is part of the normal components, and I can theoretically add it to both, but when I'm in this virtual report suite, it makes sense that add service to cart is not in the standard components, because when I add it, it's 0. That means, yeah, we have no data in this virtual report suite context for this metric anyway, so it should also not be shown in this list. So virtual report suite components greatly reduce the number of components, the degree of complexity for end users, and also make it easier for admins to know which components they should actually curate and manage and keep up to date and supply with sensible descriptions, etc., etc. But depending on your setup, on your company, on your use cases, you'll probably have 2 or more virtual report suites. For example, I want to add certain components to multiple suites. There's no way to do that. I have to go into the virtual report suite menu for each virtual report suite and do it again and again. I want to rename something for multiple suites. No chance to do that. I want to have an overview and remove stuff, rename stuff in a bulk way. That is really tedious in the Adobe Analytics interface at the moment. So they brought in virtual report suites to have something that admins can curate to make it more user-friendly, but they forgot about the time that it takes to do all this curation. This is why we created this Adobe component editor. This Adobe component editor allows you to edit components in bulk for a certain virtual report suite, and then or in general, like global changes to segments and calculated metrics or date ranges, and then directly push it to Analytics. And it happens all in a simple Google Sheet. So in this Google Sheet, I first select my virtual report suite or a list of all components. So let's select this virtual report suite, for example, and it updates the list of components. So here I have the ID, the component type, the curated name, if there is one. So let's see, for example, here we have a curated name called CHD Kampagnensprache, whereas the technical name is just CHD Sprache. The description, when was it last modified, if it's a modifiable component. Dimensions don't support that, but of course calculated metrics or date ranges support that. If it's something that is shared with everybody, if it's a template metric from Adobe Analytics, so that it's available for anybody anyway. Then on the right side I have an edit area. Here I can just paste or change or add IDs of components, the component type, so I could just I've done this here. I've added some IDs and component types and names. Just copy it over from. I select a method. So in this case, I want to remove a lot of components from a virtual report suite. I type remove, and I have the option to remove, add, change, add, remove, or entirely delete a component. So in this case, I've added a couple of metrics segments I want to remove from a virtual report suite, and I know I want to remove them all from this virtual report suite here on the right. Here it shows me all virtual report suites that are in a certain that are tied to a certain parent report suite. I just make an X here, or I could also write 1, put it all up. So that means please remove all these components that I've mentioned here. Remove average page views per visit, cart additions from cart, etc. from this virtual report suite. Now I have another virtual report suite where I want to remove some of those components, but not all of them. Paste it, and now I see that there's another value in here. As I said, it doesn't have to be X, it can also be N or anything else, just it's not, as long as it's not empty. So I've now defined a lot of components I just want to remove in this case. I could also add or change some. I can also, like here, write another name for the component. So if I want to rename this, for example, to cart addition to cart additions, I can also do that, etc., etc. So let's give it a try. All I need to do is click on this button, push updates to analytics. But before I do this, I can also check in the update export sheet if what I'm actually exporting makes sense. So here I have a clean list again. I can see, okay, this will be the changes, and looks good to me. So let's go, click push updates to analytics, and then I get a message that if I really want to do that, I click yes. And now I have to wait a little bit. It says updating, please wait. And after about a minute, you'll see the refreshed components on the left side, also the last refresh date. If I only want to refresh the components without any updates, I can also click fully refresh components. And let's see, I removed add clicks, that's what was my intention, for example. Let's see if it's still there. I just see it here once. Let's check inside Adobe Analytics. Let's refresh the components and search for add clicks. Yeah, it's no longer in the curated components, it's only in the non-curated VRS components. Now, I didn't want to remove it from the other report suite, so let's see if it's still in this other report suite. Yes, it's still there. I had some things I also wanted to remove, however, from the other report suite, so let's see if this one, cart views hit, is gone from the other report suite. Let's click on cart views hit, so yeah, it's gone. So much on the Adobe Component Editor. Some words about myself. I'm Lukas Oldenburg. I work for DIM28, my own company here in Switzerland. I do analytics consulting. Special thanks to Urs Boller, who inspired me doing this, and of course to Julien Piccini, who built the Python wrapper, a library called Adobe Analytics 2, which is the library that does most of the magic in the background. The Adobe Analytics Component Editor is not a tool that you can just plug and play. It needs a little bit of upfront customizations, but it's built to work with basically any Adobe Analytics setup. So if you're interested in learning more how to use it, if it's something for you, feel free to get in touch with me.